here in Pabo Sub-County, Amuru District. This is the Atiak Massacre site where about 250 people were shot at close range here by the LRA rebels. It's about 25 years, but the remains of those who were killed are still here. And the landowners say that they cannot use this land because whenever they try to dig, they find bones and all sorts of remains. The mass graves for those who were massacred on April 20th, 1995 is covered with overgrown grass and bushes. On the day of the massacre, more than 250 people from Atiak Trading Center were abducted and forced to walk to a location across Kitang stream, about 10 kilometers away. Some boys and girls were separated from the group and the rest were gunned down in cold blood as the children watched. Today, the area is quiet and the river is still. Willie Chowo, who was 14 years old when the massacre occurred, knew Vincent Oti, the LRA commander who allegedly planned and executed the Atiak massacre.
When he comes to visit my dad, he was a family friend. So I would go and bring chairs for him. I would go and bring some drinking water. I remember he told my dad, even if he was going to remain alone in the bush, he would not surrender.
Whereas Chowo plans to release a book he has written about his childhood interaction with the alleged plan of the Atiak massacre, he says Oti's plans are of a man ready to wreak havoc unless his community supported the LRA fight against the government. 47-year-old Dennis Nyero witnessed the wrath of an angry rebel commander. At the time of the massacre, he was a 19-year-old student at Atiak Technical Institute.
So it was around 5 a.m. The LRA came and attacked the trading center of Atiak.
Nyero was lucky that a rebel commander shouted out of the blue for others to hold on as he ordered that whoever he kicks should get up. Nyero was the first to be kicked. His role was to be among those to carry a wounded soldier, one who seemed to be of a high rank. Nyero remembers that there were more than 500 people gathered in that bushy area. After the deafening sound of gunshots had stopped, Nyero estimates that more than 250 bodies lay on the ground around him. Nyero and the other 3 abductees left the wounded rebel commander in the bush and they were told to move back towards Amuru. But the rebels soon tied their hands behind their backs and stabbed them with bayonets. Thinking the 4 were dead, the rebels walked away. The events of that day remained fresh for Nyero and many of the other survivors. A monument was built by some NGOs after the war, but it is at Atiak Sub-County headquarters instead of the site where the massacre happened. Pascal Kero was 13 years old when the massacre occurred. Whereas many of the survivors interviewed say they want to be given reparations, the actual process of determining who is eligible might be difficult because there seems to be no consensus on the number of people killed in the massacre. This monument, there's a list of 127 people who were massacred during the Atiak massacre in 1995. But the locals here say that the figure does not represent the names of their relatives and friends who died, and they put the figure at about 350. Fred Okot was among those who buried the dead. He was a head teacher at Olia Primary School in Atiak Sub-County at the time of the massacre.
The people killed were not only people from the indigenous people of Atiak. They came from different places. The relative of some of these people could not by then reach this place. You know that those days, the situation was not good. So their bodies were left there.
Okot, who is now the LC3 chairperson of Atiak Sub-County, says their database has a record of 285 of those who were killed, including their names, where they come from, and those who were abducted and have never returned home.
And this psychological torture is still, the impact is still on the people who have survived. You see them, the way they behave, the hopelessness.
Francis Nono is the center manager at the National Memory and Peace Documentation Center, an initiative of the Refugee Law Project that was started in 2011 in Kitang District to document human rights violations in Northern Uganda.
A large section of people in northern Uganda believe sharing their stories is part of the healing process. Because sharing their stories, they get relieved.
Nono agrees that most victims and survivors want to be compensated and taken back to the position where they were before the massacre, but are demanding an apology from the government as part of reparation. Irina Balo, NTV.